Monday, 10 a.m. A Zoom window cold and empty except for Christopher, my manager. He's sitting in his cozy home studio in Sanyo's minimalist background, a $900 designer lamp, and a cactus that probably never gets watered. I turn on my camera like I'm supposed to, even though every part of me wants to stay in the dark. "We value collaboration. You're too independent," he says flatly, like he's reading from a script drafted in the private Slack channel number people, ops. I don't reply right away, he continues. "You tend to go off on your own. That's not how we operate at Luminotech." Luminotech, the startup that preaches initiative in every all hands. That has slides in every onboarding deck saying things like, "We trust builders and act like an owner." I sit silently, listening to how being self-driven is now a flaw. How writing code at night and launching prototypes without 3 brainstorming calls is a red flag. How not posting a number coffee break on Slack is a signal of disengagement. I want to ask, do you value results, or just people smiling in Slack? But I stay quiet, because in this room, or rather in this call, the outcome is already set. Not today, not this second, but the direction is clear. I'm not one of them. I don't match the team's vibe. I don't laugh at Friday memes or send emoji reactions. I just do the work. And apparently, that's the problem. I think back to when I joined Luminotech a little over a year ago. Seattle, spring. I had just left Amazon, where I was a senior applied scientist on a pretty dull project recommendation systems for private label goods. The work was fine, but my soul was dying. Then came Luminoteca, promising startup, real-time ML, thin NLP layers, modern stack. They wrote me, "We give space for ideas, small teams, hacker culture. We're not corporate, we're on a mission." And I believed it. At first, it really did feel alive. I was the one who didn't just work by the ticket, I worked by meaning. I saw where the pipeline could improve, where latency could be cut, where users were dropping off. And I just fixed it. No questions, no noise, no ego. Just moving the model closer to the real world. But over time, I noticed what mattered wasn't what you built, but how you looked while building it. Those who led stand-ups with jokes? Heroes. Those who worked through the night and shipped real results? Weird introverts who needed communication coaching. And now, hearing this, too independent, I don't even feel angry. I just feel tired. Tired of a culture where process is God and results are optional. Where "you're not team-oriented enough" can be an accusation even if your code covers more use cases than the whole product team combined. Christopher ends the conversation with a line straight out of an HR handbook. "We're not saying you're bad at what you do. We just believe success here is collective." I close the Zoom tab. No emotion, no outburst, just shut the laptop. And in the silence, I hear it clearly. Inside me, "Fine, if you don't want what I bring, I'll build something of my own." Something where results speak louder than Slack status. Where independence isn't a threat, it's an asset. Where you work alone isn't an insult, it's a compliment. It won't be today. But I can already feel it. My moment is coming. Sometimes, to understand where you are, you have to remember why you came in the first place. When I think about that, I go back to March of last year. At the time, I was working at a large tech corporation in Austin. I won't name it, but you know the one. 70,000 employees, 3 approvals for every task, every change pushed through Jira, and 3 layers of management. My title sounded fancy: Senior ML Engineer, Customer Signals Group. Salary was $178,000 a year plus bonus. Everything was stable, but I felt like I was drowning in protocols. Everything had a process. Everything had a playbook. I remember one evening, sitting in my apartment on Rainy Street, staring at my screen and thinking, I'm not creating anymore, I'm just servicing the machine. That's when I got a message on LinkedIn from a recruiter at a startup called Luminotech. The message read like it had been written just for me. "We're a fast-growing ML-driven startup based in San Francisco. We believe in autonomy, speed, and impact. No red tape, just real problems, real data, and freedom to build." Freedom to build. It hit me right in the heart. Our first call was with the CTO Leah, a brilliant, calm woman. We talked about their vision for building a real-time churn prediction model using raw behavioral patterns. Exactly what I'd been trying to push for years in my old team, only to hit a wall of endless approvals every time. I remember her saying, "We're not afraid to experiment. We just want you to be yourself and do what you do best." And I thought, this is it. Not just a project, a chance to believe again, to remember why I got into tech in the first place. I took the offer, took a pay cut $142,000 plus equity. But I didn't care. I wasn't chasing money. I was chasing freedom. I moved to San Francisco, rented an apartment in Hayes Valley. The first few weeks felt like a dream. Everyone in Slack used emojis. Zoom calls had cats in the background. Friday, happy hours were virtual, but warm. Everyone's bio said things like mission-driven, builder, curious mind. But pretty soon I started noticing that freedom, it was a mask. Every time I suggested a new architectural approach, I'd hear, "Let's bring it up at the cross-functional sync next Wednesday." Then it went into a backlog, then it got discussed again, then forgotten. Any idea I could have built over a weekend got lost in a Zoom call called strategy alignment. I remember one Friday night when I stayed up until midnight building a prototype for a new clustering model that reduced latency by 22%, only to hear the product manager say, "Looks interesting, but it's not a priority this quarter." And that was it. Meanwhile, the people who spent the week in 14 meetings loudly discussing company values got public praise in Slack and invites to AMA sessions with the CEO. Eventually, I realized they don't value the builders. They value the ones who look like they belong to the culture. If you don't post in number random, if you don't laugh on Zoom, if you don't repost the latest value manifesto on LinkedIn, then you're not engaged. Freedom? It was in the onboarding doc. But in reality, it was still control. Just with a smile. But I stayed, because I believed that results would speak for themselves. I thought, if I deliver real metrics, if my models actually work, if users stay, that would be enough. I was wrong. Because at Luminotech, results aren't what shows up on a graph. They're how many people smile at you on Zoom. Looking back now, I get it. I came because I believed in the promise. I believed in freedom. I believed in just being able to do the work. And the irony is, even amid all the performative culture, the mistrust, the smiling control, I still did what I came to do. But that part of the story comes later. Sometimes you pour your soul into something, all your time, all your energy, and on the surface, it's like nothing is happening. It felt like living a double life. By day Zoom meetings, pointless syncs, corporate templates, where I had to explain, 20 times over, why we needed to recompute the feature vector for our models. By night and weekends, the real work. I didn't wait for permission. I just started building. A new ML model I'd been carrying in my head for months. Not just basic clustering or gradient boosting, something designed to capture behavioral microfailures. Not to predict churn in general, but to catch specific fluctuations when a user starts skipping onboarding steps or hovering on the same screen too long. I was writing it at night in VS Code, under a lo-fi Spotify playlist and the soft glow of one lamp in my apartment on Hayes Street. The model grew. The results were real. Precision over 87%. Latency under 40 milliseconds. And most importantly, it picked up correlations our old pipelines couldn't even see. On Monday, I tried to share it at a team meeting. Slides, results, metrics, all clean and clear. I even threw in a few jokes to lighten the mood. The response was silence. Then, Christopher, my manager, said, "Interesting. Let's circle back when we're aligned with product." Circle back. My favorite synonym for let's bury this. Still, I kept going. I proposed deploying it to staging. The response, "That's not our current priority." Okay. A week later, one of my colleagues, Ben, who I'd thought was a decent guy, gave a presentation on an all-hands Zoom. His model was mine. Same hyperparameters, same data structure, just renamed functions, and a new wrapper. Even the description sounded familiar. At the end, he got applause. People wrote, "Awesome work," in the public chat. I sat there with my camera off, holding a cup of cold coffee. Yeah, I swallowed it. That time I did. At first I thought, maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe he was just inspired. Maybe he didn't mean to steal. But then it kept happening. My ideas would float into the void during meetings, and then come back, in other voices, on other slides, with other names. And every time someone else got the credit, that's when I started keeping a GitHub repo, private, personal. I documented dates, commits, hypotheses, experiments. I kept a changelog. Every iteration, every thought, I logged it all. Not because I was trying to prove something, but because I realized, if I don't record my contributions, they don't exist. In a corporate culture where visibility matters more than impact, silent work is invisible work, and invisible work doesn't count. It became a kind of ritual. I'd close Slack, open the terminal, bash, copy edit, git add, git commit, improve anomaly detection logic in user, clicks, flow, git push origin main. That was my truth. Not the number general posts, not the virtual smiles, not the team spirit evaluations, the work, real and raw. And you know what? That model, the one I built at night, would go on to break the user retention record in Luminotech's history a few months later. But I didn't know that yet, back then. I was just building because I couldn't not build. I came to the performance review with a neatly prepared folder. It had metrics, charts, and progress reports on the project I'd been leading alone. I'd rehearsed my presentation. I thought maybe now they'll see the substance. Instead, a standard Zoom call. On screen, Christopher, my manager, and Joanna from HR. The tone gently neutral, friendly, almost caring. But behind the smiles, something felt off. Christopher starts, "We've collected some feedback through our 360 review process. There's been some concern around your interpersonal engagement." I nod calmly. "Can you be more specific?" He opens a tab with his notes. "Well, you've missed the last 3 virtual happy hours. You rarely speak in non-task Slack channels. Some team members feel a bit distant." I try not to smirk. "You're concerned I'm not sending emojis in number Friday fun? But I'm not concerned that I've been single-handedly running an R&D project saving $120K a quarter?" Joanna chimes in. "Carrie, your technical skills are exceptional. But to grow here, it's important to be seen as a collaborator, not just a solo contributor." I ask, "And how exactly do you measure collaboration?" Pause. Christopher says, "It's more of a feeling, really, a cultural fit." Cultural fit. That lovely corporate code that covers anything no one wants to name directly. I open my dashboard. I show them. False positives in my model down 40%. User journey analysis coverage up to 96%. Projected production savings over $120,000 annually. Christopher looks. But it's like he's looking through it. He closes the screen and says, "Let's park the model discussion for now. We're here to talk about team alignment." So that's it? Team spirit over product? I ask, "Who on the team has even seen my code?" Another pause. Joanna gently says, "This isn't about the code. It's about presence." Presence. They'd never seen a single one of my late-night commits. None of my hypotheses. They didn't know the project was nearly done. What mattered to them was that I hadn't shown up to Thursday Zoom trivia. It became clear. It doesn't matter how much you actually build. It matters how you look while doing it. Whether you smile in Slack. Whether you join in on coffee memes. This wasn't a review. It was theater. And apparently, I wasn't cast in a leading role. But I sat there calmly thinking, you have no idea how well what I'm building actually works. And how soon others will find out. It was Friday, classic. 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I was just wrapping up one of the final modules of the model. Ran the tests all green. And then ding. An email. From HR. No call, no camera, no human eye contact. Subject. Employment update. Body. Carrie. After careful consideration, we've decided to part ways. This decision is about cultural alignment, not performance. Your contributions have been appreciated. Best? HR. I read it at least 10 times. Not performance. So, you were good, just not a fit. Like a chair that doesn't match the decor. Right then, seconding. Slack, you've been removed from the workspace. Then GitHub, access revoked. Then G Drive, then email, then everything. Total digital death. You're still physically sitting in your chair, but it's like you've already vanished. No trace, no project, no record of the project. Except one. I had a copy of the code, not in the cloud. I made local backups every week. Not because I didn't trust them, but because I always knew. No one remembers unless you remind them. So there I was, Friday evening, in my Brooklyn apartment. Laptop open. In front of me, the work I'd poured 4 months into. Hundreds of hours. No support, no help, from scratch. And all they said was, "It's about fit." Not, "Thanks for the product." Not, "Let's see how we can preserve your model." Just, "You didn't fit." I stepped out onto the balcony. The evening was warm, like no layoffs were happening anywhere in the world. And I remembered what Christopher had said. "You're too independent." Looking at the screen with the final version of the project, I thought, they didn't fire a person. They discarded a product. And the product didn't forget. I'll do with it what they never could. I'll show it to people who aren't afraid of the independent ones. A week passed. 0 messages, not from HR, not from former teammates. Not a single, "How are you?" Even the ones who used to quietly like my ideas on Slack gone. What followed was corporate silence, cold, calculated, typical. But I had a plan. I opened VS Code, made the final commit. Message. Final, cleaned, commit, for, public, release. Opened GitHub. Created a new repository. Repo name, Luma Solo. Yeah, a little snarky. But true, built solo. I chose the MIT license. Let them take it, let them use it. Let them know this didn't come from a team or team building, or Friday Zooms with fun facts. It came from one fired, unfitting woman in Brooklyn. I wrote the README honestly. Not like documentation, like a person. I built this model alone because no one believed it mattered. Now it's open. Use it, improve it, prove them wrong. Then Twitter. I thought a long time about what to write. I wanted to be calm, but sharp. And I simply posted. Got fired for being too solo. So here's what I built solo. Meet Luma Solo, a lightweight ML model for sequence optimization. MIT licensed. Take it. Use it. Don't wait for permission to build. Attach the repo link. Hit publish. And close the laptop. That night, I drank tea, not wine. Because it wasn't a moment of victory. It was a moment of release. No anger, no drama, just quiet. And in the morning, 5,000 stars. In 3 days. Twitter, hundreds of retweets. LinkedIn, dozens of DMs. MIT Media Lab, Shopify, folks from Stripe all started sharing it. One engineer from OpenAI wrote, "This is what solo devs can do when left alone. Stellar work." None of my old team said a word. But I saw a few of them bookmark the repo. And I smiled, silently. Because sometimes, when Slack goes quiet, and life hits pause, GitHub speaks for you. Just a few days had passed since Luma Solo went viral. I hadn't even gotten through all the pull requests, and they were already coming in from Berlin, Toronto, Seoul. People were writing in their commits, Fired solo devs unite. Built with respect for Carrie's code. And that's when they woke up. Luminotech. First silence. Then a quiet update on their website. Our early R&D inspired several innovations in OpenML tooling. Then worse. One of their managers posted on LinkedIn. It's exciting to see one of our internal prototypes generate buzz. And in the comments, a not-so-subtle hint that Luma Solo was part of corporate development. I read it and thought, seriously? You fired me for a lack of team spirit, shut down the project, cut off my repo access, and now you're trying to claim the work? Twitter wasn't having it. Reddit even less. On Hacker News, a top post for the day. Dev fired for not being a team player. Her solo project goes viral. Now the company claims it was theirs. This you? Top comments. This is the most startup move ever. Classic. Kill innovation, then try to retro own it. Fired the brain, kept the Slack emojis. Someone even posted a Wayback Machine screenshot, being an older version of the company's site with no mention of Luma Solo. Then compared it to the updated version. Caption. Receipts matter. My Twitter exploded. Journalists started DMing me. One from TechCrunch asked, "Do you want to comment on the company's claims?" I replied simply, "They had the chance to support this. They chose to shut it down. The code tells its own story." And it did. Every commit name, every log, every test mine. I didn't hide that. But I didn't shout it either. I just built. And now others were speaking for me. Luminotech tried to walk it back. Deleted the post. Released a careful statement. We support all innovation, past and present, that stems from our culture of exploration. Everything you need to know is in one word, past. Because now, this isn't their story anymore. It's the story of those who were overlooked until it was too late. 10 days had passed since the Twitter post. Luma Solo had already hit 25,000 stars on GitHub. MIT license, everything transparent, everything public. And all of it mine. I was sipping my morning coffee in my Palo Alto studio when the email came in. From legal@luminotech.ai. Subject, Luma Solo licensing inquiry. We appreciate the contributions made during your previous role and would like to discuss the possibility of licensing the Luma Solo technology for internal use. We're open to a conversation. A conversation? With the same people who said I didn't fit the team spirit? An hour later, my former manager, Christopher, calls. His voice sounds tight, like he's forcing a smile through his teeth. "Carrie, you know how it is the startup world moves fast, and sometimes decisions are made in haste. We all value your contributions. We were thinking, maybe you'd like to come back? Talk terms? Or at least license the tech. We can make this mutually beneficial." I listen and realize how calm I feel. Funny how fear turns into clarity when the truth is on your side. I simply reply, "The project belongs to me, legally, logically, ethically. And the spirit? It's no longer with you. You didn't believe in solo work. Now you need a soloist." Pause. He's silent. Then he tries again, offering equity this time. I end the call first. That same morning, I get a message from the CTO of a Boston startup. "What you built is better than half the VC-funded products I've seen this year. Let's talk." Then an AI team from Portland. Then a major R&D division in Seattle. And I realize, for the first time, I'm not chasing opportunity. Opportunity is chasing me. The offer came in the morning. A startup from Austin Neuron Core AI. The subject line was simple. "Let's build without politics." They were direct. "We saw your project. We don't want to fit you into a team. We want you to build your own." I read that sentence 3 times. The interview was informal. 30 minutes with the CTO, Jalen Ford. He opened with, "You built Luma Solo with no budget, no support, and in a hostile environment. Imagine what happens if we just stay out of your way." I didn't play nice. I asked everything I needed to. What's the hiring model? How are contributions credited? What counts as failure versus exploration? He smiled. Carrie, we're not into office lunches or weekly Slack meditations. We're about outcomes. You'll be principal ML engineer, independent track. No manager above you, just partners. I signed the offer the same day. Neuron Core gave me everything. Access to H100 clusters, DevOps support, analysts when needed. But most of all, space and respect. No theater. A month later, I led my first stand-up with 3 engineers, all of whom I'd hired myself. I told them on Zoom, "You're not here to be team players. You're here to build, break things, and be honest. I won't ask how your mood is. I'll ask what's blocking you. And we'll remove it." No one turned on cat stickers. No one typed "great point" in the chat. But 2 hours later, we had a working prototype. And that's when I realized, team spirit isn't Friday parties and awkward hugs. It's when every person is strong on their own, and everyone respects each other's strength. And I thought, maybe I wasn't fired for not being a team player. Maybe I was fired for being the only one in the room who actually wanted to build. Month 6. San Francisco, Edge AI Summit 2025. I'm standing at the podium. Mic just below my chin. The room's almost full engineers, startup folks, investors. The irony? They used to call me unpresentable. Now they're asking me to close the panel. Session title: Solo work is not equal to anti-team. I open simply, "My name is Carrie. 6 months ago, I was fired for lacking team spirit. Or rather, for not spending hours in Zooms that solved nothing, and not joining team-building events built around emojis. I just wrote code. One project, solo. No budget. No approval. No corporate sticker that says yes, girl." Someone chuckled, someone else nodded silently. Next slide. On screen. Luma Solo 107,000 plus forks, 23 patents, 14 Fortune 500 deployments. Pause. I look at the audience. Sometimes people don't see value because it isn't loud. It just works. I got fired for focus. And it turned out to be the greatest gift. Next slide, just 2 lines. Solo is not equal to against the team. Focus is not equal to withdrawal. I closed with this. People think team spirit is smiling on stand-ups and eating pizza on Fridays. But you know what really inspires a team? When someone builds something that works, without the noise. Solo is an isolation. Solo is focus. And sometimes, solo is what saves the product. The applause wasn't thunderous, but it was real. No standing ovation, just the sound of understanding. I didn't smile for show. Didn't bow. I just walked out of the light. Backstage. Sipped from a water bottle, shook hands with Jalen, who leaned in and said, "You just described half of Silicon Valley? They just didn't know it yet." I smiled. No anger. No revenge. Just solo. And focused. Finally on my own terms.